So Kari Lake is an individual that tried to run for governor in Arizona in 2022, but she was unsuccessful. And because she's a MAGA type, she tried to pull her best Donald Trump impression. But because she doesn't have a cult member or a cult following like Donald Trump does, it fell flat on its head, even worse than Donald Trump's attempt. But now she is back to do it once again. And she appears to be on CNN, and let's see how it goes. I heard it went pretty bad, but let's go ahead and play the clip. I haven't watched all of it myself, so we will see in real time.
Just to be clear for everyone watching, you voted no. This is something that would essentially allow abortions to about around 24 weeks in your state. Right now, the law is at 15 weeks. It doesn't have any exceptions for rape or incest. Would you like to see that be different in Arizona?
I do believe in exceptions for rape and incest and the life of a mother. Unfortunately, the other proposition really, I believe, goes too far. It really takes it right up until 9 months in some circumstances. But again, the people of Arizona are going to decide, and I'm going to live with whatever they decide. It's not going to be up to the U.S. senator in this state. And my opponent has spent $40 million trying to lie to the people and saying that it is up to the U.S. Senate, and it's not. It's up to we the people. So
Well, and
whatever people decide in Arizona, I will respect.
as you know, of course, abortions over 21 weeks are very uncommon. It's about 1% of all abortions.
Yeah, so that's, the person from CNN is correct here. And also, Republicans have been spreading this clip where I believe it was like a guy from West Virginia talking about abortions where they take the baby out and then they got to handle it after. Now, in that clip, which I've played on this channel before in full, what he was referring to is babies who are not viable, that they will die basically time they are out in the open because they have major defects, unfortunate defects where they are not viable, they will not live long enough for anything to really happen, and is basically dead on arrival. So yeah, what do you do in that situation? That is what he's referring to. So if you ever see a clip like that clip during an interview, that's what they're talking about.
In the U.S. But I ask, given your stance on this has been so fascinating, it's shifted quite a bit. You first praised the 1864 law that banned nearly all abortions in Arizona. It was ultimately repealed by the state legislature there, but you then had denounced that law. I just wonder what you would say to voters in Arizona who see your changes on an issue from that severe of a position to someone saying that's someone maybe who's willing to say anything just to get elected on this issue.
Well, no, it's just that I know what office I'm running for. I'm running for a federal office. This has been sent back to the state. And while I appreciate that you're concerned and about this, I know many women are concerned about it. I'm a woman. I have a daughter. I came from a family of 8 girls, so I understand the issue of women. I want to make sure that women have options and affordable health care. And women do care about this, but they also care about being able to afford groceries. They care about the fact that not too
Pivot.
far from here, just a few hours south of where I'm sitting right now, we have a wide
And I already know most likely the CNN host is going to catch her out on this, but the reason why she doesn't really want to answer abortion is because the exact same reason why Donald Trump really doesn't want to talk about abortion, or any Republicans, because they know abortion is their most unpopular position. And I believe either every state or nearly every red state where abortion was put up to the people, they always vote to basically keep Roe v. Wade intact, or a version that allows abortions, because most Americans are in favor of having women's right to have an abortion,
open border and people are coming in. Women care about the concern of World War III starting up. I was just
which Donald Trump would be way more likely to start, because Donald Trump is the person that said that he wants Russia to do whatever the hell they want to do in terms of NATO, because Donald Trump doesn't really support NATO.
at the border a couple of days ago, and it breaks my heart because this little shoe right here I picked up, it was probably the shoe that a little 2 or 3-year-old boy wore. And it's just sitting there at the border. And I thought to myself, there's 325,000 children that have been or trafficked across our border, many of them sex trafficked, that have been
But can I
lost.
stop you there? Because the question was, of course,
Just
about
a minute,
abortion on this
Exactly.
issue and why your position has changed so much, because it is quite a big reversal to go from saying a law that bans basically all abortions in your state was a great law that you praised, to then saying that you believed it was out of step. And voters are going to be wondering why you changed your position so much.
To get votes.
I did just explain that. I've put out a lot, I've talked a lot about this, and I just explained that I'm running for federal office. So I explained how I voted. I'm running for federal office.
So which office you're running for determines what your position on abortion laws is?
Yeah. That's
Yes,
basically
because in
yeah.
the federal office, we're not going to decide that, Caitlin. But I'm really concerned more about, I'm concerned just as much about the children that are going missing, the women that are being raped, and I wish the media cared about them. I haven't heard a lot of questions being asked of my opponent or Kamala Harris about the 325,000 children who've gone missing. I haven't heard a lot of questions coming from the mainstream media about the women who are being killed at the hands of people here who are murderers and rapists. I was in New York City.
Well, your opponent, of course, voted for the Lake and Riley Act. But on the changing your positions,
really quickly,
I question you on that because
Caitlin, I was just Caitlin.
In terms of immigrants committing crime, we've already talked about this before. They're not committing crimes. They commit less crimes than naturalized born U.S. citizens. We already know that. We've been over it before millions and millions of times. Republicans don't care. They're going to keep lying about it anyways.
And I was just in New York City. I believe that's where you are broadcasting live from tonight. The streets aren't safe anymore. The subways aren't safe anymore. I care about.
I take the subway all the time. It is safe. But I want to get back to focusing on you because on the question here and the question that we're talking about when it comes to you and your positions, I just wonder because you have changed your positions on many issues. When it comes to that 1864 abortion law, when it comes to early voting, you used to oppose early voting. You voted early in this election. When it comes to courting McCain Republicans in your state, you once told them, to leave an event of yours, to get the hell out was the phrase you used. You later said you were joking. I mean, some people may look at that and say, well, this is a candidate who has changed her position on a lot of things that we're looking at.
I want to secure the border. I want a strong economy. I want schools that are teaching our kids lessons that actually help them get ahead. My opponent has done an extreme makeover. He's voted for open borders. He's voted against the border wall. He called Trump supporters dumb, and he called Trump supporters and Republicans the worst people in the world.
But I'm asking you about your positions.
I know, but I'm telling you, I'm about to explain this. He's also voted for defunding the police. He's done an extreme makeover. He came on your show and you never interrupted him once. And I'm here to tell you, we have a lot of issues as.
Okay, I wonder right now if I type in, did this guy vote for defunding the police? Let's do it in real time. Maybe he did. I don't know. Let's find out. What is the guy name? Ruben. What's his name? Ruben Gallego? Wow. In real time. So in real time, we can just go on here, type in Ruben Gallego and ask, did he ask to defund the police? And we can almost immediately see that it's false. It takes 5 seconds to prove these people incorrect. It takes 5 seconds of research. Representative Ruben Gallego, a Democrat in Arizona, co-sponsored a bill introduced in 2019 that would have restricted these transferred of military-grade weapons to police departments. However, this is not the only different issue, but it occurred before the defund the police became a rallying cry for some progressives. Gallego has backed several bills since 2019 that provide added funding for recruitment and retention to police officers. When you look at that, he actually wants to fund recruitment and retention for police officers. Who would have thought that Kari Lake was a liar? But let's go ahead and go back to the video.
Women we care about. I care deeply about the little boy who was possibly wearing this shoe when he crossed our border, who's now missing. I worry about where he is right now. I worry about the people who are sex trafficked into our country and across our border. And most importantly, one of the most important issues I worry about is the weapon of mass destruction pouring across our border. It's called fentanyl, and it's killing about 100,000 young people about your age every year. I'm worried about your generation.
And another thing about that is if she's so worried about the fentanyl, then why isn't she mad at Donald Trump for killing the bill that would have done exactly that? Because Kamala Harris supported the bill that would have provided equipment to catch the fentanyl, but Donald Trump wanted to kill it for political points because he had to make a point for his entire campaign, because without it, his campaign wouldn't really have anything to run on. So why isn't she mad about that? But, of course, it's politics. She's playing party lines. She doesn't care because she herself is a MAGA cult member and she really doesn't care about any of this, especially the children of immigrants and immigrants in general. She doesn't give a damn about them. Come on.
Have kids that are probably about your age, and they've told me, my son just came home from college the other day and he said, Mom, I don't think that we'll ever be able to afford a home in our generation because the housing prices have soared, especially in the past 4 years. They've gone up.
Yeah, and a lot of people
35%
are
in
worried about
Arizona.
housing prices. A lot of people are worried
They
about
are worried
fentanyl,
about
and
it.
I
It
should know
doesn't
most of it
help.
comes through legal ports of entry.
Caitlin,
But Kari
it
Lake,
doesn't help.
Yeah, and that
We have
too.
21 million people here.
and then
that
on
have
your
40
race
plus
in and of
children.
itself, when I was talking about your positions on those key issues that also matter, obviously, abortion is also going to be a big one, in addition to the economy and immigration in your state. On your race itself, have you changed your position on whether you lost the 2022 election for governor?
First
Oh
of all, I
boy.
want to go back to a question you just answered. I have not changed my position on early voting. We have to vote for the
Well, you
entire
voted
season.
early after you've criticized
I
it
did vote
previously.
early.
Which Donald Trump, I know I'm stopping a lot, but there's so much garbage in here. Donald Trump also did this in 2020 where he went out and demonized early voting, mail-in voting, and then Donald Trump himself mail voted because he votes in Florida. So it's just hypocrisy all the time. We already know it by now. It's not new. Republicans do it all the time. They don't care about anything.
I did vote early, and I plan to. My husband plans to vote early. My daughter voted early. My son will be voting on election day. I've never changed my position. I've always said vote however you're comfortable. I do wish we had election day, but we don't, so we have to vote in that way. And we're going to make sure that we get everybody out to vote. And if you look at the stats, I don't know if you've covered this yet because it doesn't go in the Democrats' direction, but we are seeing a huge turnout right now in Republicans voting early. It's incredible what we're seeing here on the ground.
Yeah, but I'm asking you about
And
the
at
turnout
this
in
rate,
2022. Did you lose the 2022 election for governor?
Oh boy.
why are we looking backward? I'm looking forward.
Because
I
you've
already
yet
know
to
what your head.
concede that race.
Caitlin, I'm looking forward to what is coming up. I'm looking forward to November 5th and this huge election. And the people of our state are caring about what's coming up, what's going forward. How are we going to make sure we secure the border? What can we as Republicans do to make sure we bring back that thriving economy where we had record low unemployment?
So you're not going to
we
say
had
whether or
record
not
high-
you lost the 2022 race. Is that what I'm hearing?
You know what, Caitlin? You've seen thousands of interviews from me. I've answered that a million times. I'm looking
You've
forward.
actually yet to answer
You-
the question directly on whether you believe that you did lose the election.
Well, I want to make sure our elections are run properly, and I'm still in litigation, so I don't want to speak
No
to that.
answer.
But I do want to look
Litigation.
forward, and it's so funny that the media, Caitlin, hold up. The media can't get over it. You say I can't get over it, and it looks like you can't.
I don't think I
wanna
said
talk-
that. I
No,
just said you
listen, I
haven't
wanna-
conceded the race.
Yeah, and she's pulling a legit no you line in terms of her being asked, hey, do you recognize objective reality and that you lost 2 years ago and that for whatever reason, because of your ego, maybe because you are a supporter of fascism, maybe you should just admit that you lost? And she's like, no, I can't actually do that. Let's go ahead and look to the future. It's just massive amounts of cope every single time.
And I know you mentioned
Caitlin,
your
hold up,
litigation.
hold
You
up.
filed multiple lawsuits.
up.
Have any of those lawsuits been successful?
Hold up, Caitlin. We've had 10 questions probably, and you've had all of them being about elections or abortion. And while
Those
those
are
are
pretty
big
big
issues, and
issues.
I care about them. You've asked 0 questions about inflation and the cost of living. In Arizona, we can't afford to live anymore. We have the fastest growing rent prices in the country in 3 of our cities.
So you're not
You
going to answer
haven't-
the question about whether or not you lost the election.
I'm actually thinking you meant to ask me about the issues that people cared about. And people care about our wide open border. They care that 21 million people have poured in to your city, to my city, all across this country.
Do you think
I
people care
I
if
think you
you're willing to
forgot
accept the
that-
results of an election that was free and fair and that you filed multiple lawsuits that have not gone anywhere? And I should note a defamation lawsuit that was filed against you. You did not contest it from a top Arizona election official that says you lied about him repeatedly.
Well, I think what you meant to ask is Carrie, things are really tough right now, and I know
These are
that
the
people that are
questions I meant to
watching
ask with
tonight.
all due respect. I'm conducting this interview, but you're not answering those questions. And if that's your answer,
I've
that's fine.
answered
I
them
just
before.
wanted to follow up on that.
I think what you meant to ask is how can we get through this difficult time where people are pouring across our border and people can't afford to live right now? I know that you're probably doing okay. You probably have a pretty good salary. I once sat in the chair like you did, but people are really struggling right now. I've talked to so many parents, dozens.
Yeah, so personal attacks, attacking her paycheck, and we're at a point now where one side of the political landscape doesn't even deal in objective reality, and that is a major issue. So the bar has never been lower. The bar is on the ground at this point. You can just pick the bar up. Maybe you need a shovel to go ahead and dig it to go get it, because that is how low the bar is. She is asking somebody who is running for governor, who is, I read a report, somewhat closing in, maybe perhaps, you know, um, but do you recognize objective reality? And they can't do it. Every single time you ask one of these Trump sycophants, hey, can you recognize objective reality? They can't do it.